Welcome to the first video of the Mr. Manager Dynasty series for 2017. I've decided to play as Napoli this year based on my vacation this summer. We spent a couple days in Napoli. It was a really cool town. It was a little less touristy than Rome. Kind of had a little more industrial vibe to it. It's a port town. We saw some really cool stuff there, some catacombs, really neat historic castle, Castle d'Ovo, which means Castle of the Egg. Legend has it that there's an egg buried deep in the castle that keeps it safe. Anyway, we ate some great pizza, had a great time, and now I'm their manager. There I am, Mr. Manager. We've traveled back in time a little bit, so it's before my birthday, so I'm still 33 years old, and I've got a nice bright orange spray tan. I think for this video series what I'm going to do is just try to do some 20-minute videos at maybe monthly intervals, pick up some key matches. I'm definitely not going to be doing everything because I spend a lot of time just staring at screens, reorganizing my tactics, stuff like that would never be fun for a Let's Play video. But I figured I'd give you a quick little update on what I've gone through so far to prepare the team and set up the organization and some of the initial research that I've done. Basically right now I've just spent the last 3 hours familiarizing myself with the team, kind of coming up with some plans for going forward. I did set the game up so that the first transfer window there's no transfer money, so I don't know if the window's actually closed or what the deal is, but I won't have any transfer budget, so I'm stuck with the team I inherit at least until the winter transfer window. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go through a couple things. And just so you know, I've increased the zoom in factor on the game. This is not how I play it typically, but I think it'll show up better for the video, so it's zoomed to 125%. Anyway, so here we are, hired as the coach. We're welcomed to Napoli by our owner. And our first contract expires after the year, so we don't have a very long window for opportunity. We have to do really well right away. But hey, we're making $2.2 million a year. So the transfer updates. The real interesting one is this young player, Marco Rogue, who I'll go over later in a little more detail. He's going to be transferring in. And he will be with the team on loan for 1 year, and then it's a future transfer next year. I might as well just zoom in on him now. He's got the potential to be a 4-star player. He's currently 2.5, so he's already going to play probably a pretty big factor in this team as my secondary attacking midfielder behind Hamfist. He's got some really good attributes. I'm trying out the default skin on this. I'm not sure I like how the player attributes show up with alternating light and dark green because I can't see which ones are highlighted very well. Anyway, we've got some interesting players that have been loaned out as well, and I don't know if we'll get them back. And then we've brought in a couple more loaned players as well, but this one is tough because I don't have a lot of striker depth, and this dude would be really nice to have on my team this year. So that's interesting. I can understand some of these players being loaned out because, like Zuniga, he's at a position where he might be okay, but he would be the third choice there, so he's probably wouldn't get a lot of playing time. So it makes sense to loan him out. Anyway, so that's my loan players. We have non-EU player allowance of 2. I think I've only got 1 on my roster right now. We do have 3 pretty key injuries. Pepe Reina, he's out somewhere around a month, so he's one of our key players. He's gonna miss most of the preseason. Not even gonna try to pronounce his name, but he's one of our kind of second choice attacking mids. He's out for up to 2 months, and then this one kind of hurts because he would be good depth for our central defender. He's out for 6 months. here's a bit of a background on Napoli. We've got above average junior coaching. We've got an average youth recruitment. We have superb training facilities, so that should be helpful. So we've had a pretty, Napoli's had a pretty storied past. They actually won a Euro Cup in the 1980s. They've won Serie A twice. And then amongst other pretty good results. They're not, one of the very topmost clubs in Italy, but their recent history, as you can see, has been trending upwards. So they finished second last season after finishing top 5 for, ever since 2009, 2010. Their lowest finish was 6th place. So they're a really solid team. And so here's the report on strengths and weaknesses from my assistant coach, otherwise known as Ask Coach. Excuse me. So we've got a lot of players capable of playing attacking midfield. Plenty of depth there. Plenty of players that can play left winger. The first touch and passing of our team are both very good. Got a high quality goalkeeper. We've got a good defender, especially at the left back position. The squad is full of a number of impressive decision makers and a lot of good work rate too. And it's also a very close knit team. And it says we have impressive depth outside of the first team. The problem is they've all been transferred on loans, so I don't really have them as depth. I'll have to see if I can recall them if I need them. And I've got some good youth prospects. I got one of the best coaching teams in the competition. And here it says I have one of the best scouting teams in the competition, but I don't think I do. So the weaknesses means we have no transfer budget. Apparently there is a leadership void. And we have only a balance of $3.15 million per annum, which leaves us very little options, so our wage budget's basically maxed. I think looking at the finances a little more thoroughly, we're probably going to have to sell off a player at some point. The introductory advice summary, I won't go through that, it's kind of boring. Let's go ahead and cover, let's see here, my staff. This is a good overview because it shows how good my coaching staff is. So the first thing I like to do in a game is see where I need to hire coaches and staff, because that's important. You don't want to be going into competition with crappy coaches and staff. So I have the best goalkeeper staff, second best defense, second best attacking, second best fitness coaching, fifth best mental coaching, third best technical coaching, second best tactical coaching, and second best man management. So overall, I think I've probably got the second best or first best coaching staff in Serie A. Now we go over to my scouts, and we're 16th in Serie A in judging player potential, and we are 17th in judging player ability. And I think that's because we are understaffed at the moment. So I'll be looking to hire a scout. Our physios are also a little below average, so I'm probably going to be hiring maybe a head of sports science, possibly, and I don't know, maybe another physio. Try to get those two areas up to snuff. So that's the staff portion of it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the club's finances next. Let's first go to projections. So the problem is we're projected to lose a fair amount of money by the end of the year. So that's never great. Lose $10 million. So the next thing we should go to is take a look at our we do have some debts and stuff, but what I can directly control is the salary. And so this is what I try to look at first thing and is to come up with a wage budget based on these player roles. So they've already got something pretty well set up, but I like to kind of custom tailor my own a little bit more. And as you can see, we're basically spending almost all of our payroll. We have a current payroll budget of $105 million. We're currently spending $103.8 million. So we basically have just under $2 million, and next season's payroll is basically right at our budget. So, anyways, I do like to set a wage scale for key players, first team players, etc. So what I usually try to do is I keep 5 or fewer players in the key player area, 10 or fewer players in the first team, and then 7 to 10 players in the rotational area. So that gives me basically somewhere between 22 and 25 players that fit into that first squad that I'm going to be carrying into all of my competitions. That will cover key player, first team, and rotation. And I know that it doesn't necessarily make sense that I've got 15 players listed as quote-unquote first team between key players and first team, but when you're playing in the European competitions, when you're playing in the European competition and cup competitions and stuff like that, I'll have players getting plenty of playing time. So basically, I'm going to try to keep 25 players in that key first rotation area. So right now we've got 4 plus 10 plus 7, 21. But as you can see, I've got some backups making up to $3.8 million. So some of those backups are actually being paid like probably first team players. So going forward, the wage budget I'm going to try to stick with is my key players are going to get paid somewhere between $5 and $13 million a year, and I'm going to have 5 or less of those. My first team players are going to get paid between $3 and $5 million a year. I'm going to have about 10 of those. That's going to be the majority of my starting roster is going to be balancing those players. 7 rotational players. These are the guys that are going to be providing depth and be basically 7 to 10 of these. They're going to be basically the second string players on the 2 deep depth chart, and I want them making between 1.5 and 3 million. And then backups and under everybody else making less than $1.5 million a year. So as you can see, we've got some backups that are making 3.8 million. We got some rotation. The rotation player making 3.7 million is not bad. Our highest paid first teamer is just a little overpaid compared to my new wage budget. Also not bad. So I think whoever this is listed as a backup making 3.8 million, that's probably my biggest budgetary concern. So I'll go through my squad a little more thoroughly and see who's really getting overpaid. So here we are. So let's take a look at my highest paid players. Hamsik is one of the highest paid players. He is a key player. Callejon is a key player. Milkman is listed as first string, and he's one of our highest paid players, but he's not too far out of that first string budget. And Pepe Reina and Kulalabi are both at the low end or lower than normal key players, so that's good. And then beyond that, let's see who our first backup is that's making. He must have been loaned out. We had a backup listed as making 3.8 million or whatever, but I don't see him here. Yeah, he must be on loan then. But Churches is a rotational player making 3.75. That's a little high because he really is a rotational player. He probably won't. Well, we'll see. For the time being, he's going to be basically a more than a rotational player because Tonelli's out. Anyway, I don't see anything glaringly bad right away. So I think we'll go ahead and take a look at the tactics that I tentatively set up for the team. Based on looking everything over, it seems like we were pretty well set up to play a 4-2-3-1 wide. formation with central midfielders instead of CDMs, so it's kind of a more attacking, controlling variation of the 4-2-3-1. Based on my assistant coach's notes, I've decided to play a controlling mentality because I think we'll have a very competent technical team. The team shape will be flexible. I'm going to have them play normal tempo, balanced, basically everything balanced. I'm going to have them play out of the defense because I've got some pretty good technical defenders. I'm going to have them go with shorter passing and be more expressive. Hopefully this will allow our passing to really help us. I'm not quite going to tell them to retain possession yet, but I think just being in the control tactic with shorter passing, be more expressive, looking to work the ball into the box, and looking for overlap should allow our team to play pretty good technical soccer. And as you can see, everyone was very well suited for a role. So everyone had complete suiting to the role that they picked. I had to adjust some of the roles. So on defense, I'm playing with a wing back on the right, a full back on the left, a normal central defender, and then a cover defensive center back there. So he's going to be a little more defensive-minded. Albiol is going to allowed to play the ball out of the defense a little bit. Kyubi's just going to be clearing it and covering and sitting deep. Jorginho, he's going to be my deep-lying playmaker. Allen is going to be more of a box-to-box midfielder with the support role, so he's going to be getting up and down the field, which is good because I'm going to have him on Callejon's side. Callejon's going to play this Raumdeuter role, which means space investigator in Germany. Basically, they're like a poacher on the wing, and Callejon's apparently really well suited for that, and it's kind of a more attacking role. Insigne is going to play inside forward role, so he'll be cutting in, but also more of a support, so he'll link in well with that deep-lying playmaker on this side. Hamsik is going to be playing the advanced playmaker role, supporting. And then Milik is a complete forward. So I really like complete forwards because obviously they do everything well. So Milkman will be the complete forward up top. And Pepe Reina is out right now, so I've got Sepe in as his backup. So going down the two deep, I've got, let's see here, Raphael's my current backup goalkeeper. I really only need two goalkeepers going forward, so I might look to move my third string guy and just let my third string going forward be a youth player. So I've got Ivan Strinik as a potential left back sub, Claudio Maggio as a potential right back sub, two decent 3-star central defender subs, although Churches is a little overpaid. Diarra's my only real good defensive mid, and he's one of my worst players on the team overall. And then I've got a couple other midfield subs, but they're both kind of more attacking minded. And then we get into the real depth of the team. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacking midfielders, in addition to the 3 that we have starting. And that's in addition to another guy that's injured. So really we've got like 10 players that can play these 3 attacking midfield spots. So that might be an opportunity for me to move a player like Insigne, who's worth like $30 million. We'll have a little drop in quality from him to whoever his backup is, but I do have a lot of players that can play that left wing side. That brings me to my weaknesses. I think the 2 weaknesses is I really don't have any defensive-minded midfielders, and I don't have a lot of depth at the CM position, good depth. These 2 are pretty much the best 2 players. I don't really trust. He's more of an attacking mid, really. And then these 2 are like 2.5-star players. I wish I had another 3-star or better central midfielder with a defensive mindset. especially because I want my secondary tactic to be a lead controlling 4-2-3-1 with 2 DMs, where I can sit back in counterattacking and control the ball a little more from that type of formation. And maybe even drop Hamsik back into a advanced playmaker role, but sitting right there. But right now I don't really have the players to do that, so I'm going to focus on just training this formation up, number one. And then my secondary thing that I'm really missing is striker. Right now I've only got Milkman really, with my other striker being out on loan. This guy is kind of my second choice. Gabadini is my second choice striker, and he looks okay, but he's not great at any of these roles. Like if you see his highlighted, and see, this is what I'm talking about. I can't really tell what's highlighted and what's not all that well, because the difference in the alternating colors between these two makes stuff look highlighted anyway. Anyway, he doesn't have any terrible areas, but I don't know. He's okay, but I would like a more out-and-out striker, and then he would be my third striker, who's able to also fill in at the wings. A really nice guy to keep on the bench or something, but I think I need a third striker, basically, that's a more out-and-out striker. So I think that's a good review of the team depth so far. Right now, I really like the look of this starting lineup. I don't have any problems with any of those players. That Haisaj is probably my weakest player of the bunch, and I looked at his actual stats, and he looks like he should be a pretty competent player. Otherwise, I'm going to be like 3.5 stars or above at every starting position. And fully competent in their role as well, which I think is key. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to touch on before we move on is my training routine that I've got set up. So we start out on this balanced training routine, which that's fair enough. Next week we're going to go straight into focusing on fitness very high, and then after that we're going to focus on team cohesion. And then as we move on through the month, we're going to kind of alternate between fitness and team cohesion through the preseason, while also focusing on match tactics. So hopefully by the end of the preseason, we'll have a nice team that has great cohesion. We'll have built up our match fitness, and then we'll also be really, really good at our primary tactic, and hopefully decent enough at our defensive tactic, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. I might drop that 4-2-3-1 defensive until I can find players who fit it, maybe next year. I haven't decided yet on that. But so that'll be my training going forward. We've got some, as you can see, we got a friendly proposal with our under 20s coming up tomorrow. And then we've got a bunch of friendlies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 friendlies before Serie A starts in almost a month and a half from now. At the end of August, we will be starting our season at home with Juventus in Serie A. So that'll be cool. I'll probably make a video at the end of preseason and catch the first Juventus game. I'm thinking that'll be my next video. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I know it was probably a little long, but I got to give you an overview of everything about the club and where we're going from here. I'm pretty excited about this team. Hope you guys enjoyed it.